listening to the 10 Questions with the Musical Mind podcast with your host, Peter Harris.
Hey everybody, welcome back to 10 Questions with the Musical Mind. Peter Harris here. Now, all of you who are on social media, whether it be Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, are aware of the phenomenal guitar players you can look up around the world these days. There's everything from 13-year-olds that play the most amazing instrumentals, all kinds of stuff. You look it up and you can be blown away. The level of technical ability out there is awe-inspiring, to be quite frank. And we've all seen it. It's even to the point where a lot of times I'll see, like, check out this guitar player, check out this cover of this, and, I don't always click on it because there's just so much of it out there. But when you get one of these guitar players comes along who's an unknown and loads up his videos, when you start hearing people like, David Coverdale, Mike Portnoy, Derek Sherinian posting links of this kid going, holy cow, check out this player, this kid is on fire. That's when you start checking it out. The guy I'm talking about is named Josh Jones. And if you're not familiar with him, look up his playing. He is phenomenal. He's got the fire, he's got the intensity and the chops. So Josh joins us. We talk about his playing and where he got his inspiration, how he got the technique down, his playing, his equipment, and most importantly, I asked him if he's working on his own original material, and indeed he is. He played some of that for me. Sounds good. Of course, we're going to leave it up to him as to when to release that to the public. He's got some work to do on it yet as far as coalescing a band around himself, that kind of thing. But I think it'll be worth the wait. So in the meantime, let's get together with Josh, talk about his playing, listen to some of his licks, and just have a good time. Hope you enjoy this. Hey Joshua, how you doing today?
What's up, man? I'm doing good. How you doing?
Cool, man. Cool. I appreciate you taking the time to join us and chat a little bit about stuff. And I want to ask you. I'm going to start off with a not a beginning topic, but the way I found you, well, like on social media, like Twitter and all that kind of stuff, was, for those who don't know you. Of course, I've interviewed a lot of these guys and et cetera, but I first started seeing Derek Sherinian and Jeff Scott Soto and Mike Portnoy, David Coverdale, all just started putting up posts on Twitter like, check this guy out, he's phenomenal. And of course you're a freaking great player. But it's pretty amazing just have all these just A-list guys that are phenomenal virtuosos just to be like, check this dude out. How did that come? I mean, were you as blindsided by that as what? Were you just posting your stuff up there for everybody to see, or what led to that?
Well, I mean, I think it all kind of started. I mean, it's kind of somewhat of a long story, but I mean, long story short, I like right when I graduated high school, I pretty much cut all my social media ties off. Mm-hmm. And all I did was practice and play live. And then, I'd say around this time last year, so around, anywhere from May, June, July, August, just summertime of 2018, one of my friends was like, hey man, you should get back on Instagram. You should start making videos. That kind of sparked something into me to actually get back on Instagram and, get back on Twitter and get back on all these social media platforms. But Instagram was the first one. And I think that's where Derek saw a video of me. But I mean, pretty much I was like, I don't even know how many videos I have on there now. But I was posting about once a week.
Yeah.
And at first it was, it was little iPhone videos, just, connected straight. Like I don't even think I was using this thing right here, man. I was using this and I would have my iPhone like hanging off the back of that. So, yeah, and I remember, I think the thing that really made me continue doing that was there's this dude on YouTube and his name's Doug Steele, and he was the first person outside of my hometown to really see any videos of me, and he gave me a shout out, and then he kind of he kind of gave me, I guess, his 2 cents on what he thinks I should do.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, from that point on, that's whenever I got the computer. Obviously, I'm talking to you because of that.
Right.
Got the computer, got the webcam, got the monitors, got the DAW, everything like that. Started recording my own songs and stuff like that. But I think that happened as far as the topic goes with those guys seeing my videos. I think it was from playing I'm the One, and I think Derek somehow saw a video of me on Instagram.
Yeah.
And he must have just shown his bandmates in Sons of Apollo, and they were like, "Oh yeah, this kid's cool," you know.
Yeah, it's an excellent version of I'm the One, and I actually sent it to a friend of mine. But I'll give you an example. Last year I was hanging out with a guy named Nick Brophy, and he was the bass player for the River Dogs with Vivian Campbell and all those guys.
Ah, yeah, Vivian's fucking awesome.
Oh, he's fucking awesome. And Nick Brophy's a badass guitar player, bass player. He's a producer, engineer. He's done a ton of work. I mean, he's still got stuff all over the radio, hits and stuff. He's mixed, but he was pointing out a good thing to me. We were listening to the Van Halen 1 master tracks and from '78, and then we were pulling up videos of, like, you know, pro guitar players, like even like the guys that Roth had with him in the 2000s before he got back with Van Halen. And he'd be like, listen to him, like, this guy is a great guitar player, but when he plays I'm the One, it sounds like he's rushing to meet the tempo. He doesn't have the swing to it that Eddie did. You know what I'm saying? And so I've listened to yours. I'm like, he's got the swing. Like, you don't feel like you're trying to make that tempo. It just feels like it's still swinging, and that's the tough part.
I practice that part. I mean, you know, slow it down. It's like it is a swing. It's you know. I mean, it's hard, man. It took me, I think it took me a solid week every day of putting about, you know, yeah, I don't like putting a lot of time into covers. I like putting a lot of time into writing, but it took, I'd say, a week every day of about 30 minutes every day on that song.
Yeah.
Just even get that little, you know, that whole swing thing down.
Right.
You know, you got to practice it. You got to practice the metronome too. That's
yeah.
the biggest thing. And you know, I mean, as far as that one goes, man, I mean, man, I don't even remember what take that was. I think in that video, I literally see myself in the full video after the second solo's done. I'm literally getting ready to record the next video, and I was like, okay, that take wasn't good enough.
No, I got you. Yeah. I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah, I wonder, I was going to ask you that too, because you've done a bunch of Van Halen covers. What was harder for you when you first started covering Van Halen? Was it the technique or the feel?
Ooh. Definitely the feel.
Yeah. I think that's what separates Eddie from a lot of... There's guys who can play faster than him, but it's the feel that set him apart. But, yeah.
I'd most definitely say it's the feel. I mean, it goes like that with a lot of guitar players that I listen to. You know, I mean, as far as my tastes are concerned, I like guys. You know, I guess guys who pretty much kind of punch you in the teeth with their playing.
Yeah.
You know, guys like Dimebag, John Sykes, Yngwie. You know, there's a few guys on YouTube I like Rick Graham and Marshall Harrison. You know, guys that I don't think were in really big bands, but they're on YouTube now and they just fucking kill.
Awesome.
You know, I mean, it's just, I don't know. If you play guitar, more than likely, I'm gonna like it. You know?
Yeah. No, and definitely that's cool. John Sykes has always been one of my favorite guys. Just he's talking about kicking the teeth. He's just got that aggressive. I mean, his vibrato is just gorgeous.
Oh yeah, man. What's that? The vibrato on that, the vibrato on, I think honestly one of the best, one of the top solos I think it really ever written is This Love, just because to me it sounds like a saxophone.
Yeah. That slow, wide vibrato on that is just,
Yeah. I don't know how he did that, but he did it, you know. So.
It's I stood about 4 feet away from Sykes at a concert in a small club way back in the day and watched him play. And it was just, it's awesome just being, that close to him. And there was a bunch of stuff that I know. I'm sorry?
What year was it?
This would have been 93, the second Blue Murder album.
Oh, it's Blue Murder, okay.
Yeah. And that's why they were in a small club. He wasn't with Whitesnake anymore, but he was playing some parts that I'd swear were vibrato bar, and he's just doing like 2.5-step bends with his fingers. He would just come off the stage and only have his Les Paul and nothing else, and he would just duplicate all that stuff on the record.
He used to play on a Strat. Videos of him, and I've heard videos of him playing on a Strat.
He did have one, and I know from I've talked to Tony Franklin, the fretless bass player that was in Blue Murder. He said he had a blue Charvel with a Kaler trim.
So, guys like, here's my question with guys like that. Guys that are so good. Guys like him, guys like Eddie Van Halen, and why are they not on Twitter? Why are they not, on social media? Like that. To me, that kind of sucks because it'd be so cool. Like I was talking to Greg Renoff, the author of this book.
Yeah.
Rising, and he lives in my town actually, and I was talking to him about that, and I was like, wouldn't it just be fucking cool if Van Halen was able to tweet you anytime, or like John Sykes? Like I don't even know what John Sykes looks like right now.
Yeah. I've seen recent interviews of him, but he looks good. But but no, you're right, and Van Halen especially and Sykes are like the most social media awkward. Like they just refuse to communicate with. It's weird. I don't know.
It is weird.
They don't update anything. It's hard to say what your motivation is if you're 60 years old and mega rich. Maybe you don't feel like it.
Yeah, I could understand that most definitely.
Eddie Van Halen's been playing on stages since I was like 6 years old. It's maybe he's tired of it. I don't know. But now when did you start playing?
I wanted to start playing when I was 11.
Mm-hmm.
My parents couldn't. I should have had my first guitar is behind the curtain. It's gonna take me a minute to get it, but it was this little Yamaha guitar. I knew I wanted a guitar when I was 11. I listened to like 2 songs. I think it was what 2 songs made me want to play guitar? It was David Lee Roth, Just Like Paradise. I had no idea who Van Halen was.
Sure.
I saw this dude doing somersaults and like parachute pants, and I thought it was cool. And obviously Steve Vai. I didn't know who that was. I was just 11, so I was just watching this and listening to it, and I loved it. And I think the other one was actually Nothing But a Good Time from Poison. And like it was a mixture of those two. So I was really into glam and just big guitar solos, stuff like that. And it took my parents 2 years. Finally got me one I think it was for my 13th birthday. And I'm 23 now, so it's been a decade, almost exactly.
Yeah, well, that's cool. Yeah, and it's that's all you can do. All you can do is get what you were exposed to at the time you're born, and it's up to you to go digging back and find stuff. Like when I was, in high school and stuff, there was no internet. So you just waited for something to come on MTV or something, and then I'd get the guitar magazines, and I'd go read articles and find out, like, okay, who were the great guitar players of the 50s and 60s. I'd go back and find out that stuff and try to hear some of their playing. But yeah, you couldn't just look up whoever you wanted to. You had to do some digging, but...
Yeah, and now you can do anything with YouTube. That's pretty much what I did. The moment, by the time I was 13, I was still listening to glam, but I was really listening to a lot of metal, a lot of Pantera, a lot of Metallica, stuff like that. And I think I remember the first literally the first minute, like my mom gave me my guitar, I was like, okay, I'm going upstairs. I don't care if it's my birthday. And I just went upstairs, went on the computer, and I think I was up until like 2 a.m. So I must have spent 12 hours,
right,
just right there. And I think
your fingers were probably wrecked.
I think the first song I learned was One by Metallica, track 4 on Injustice. I believe it's track 4. I'd have to look that up. But yeah, and
it's
then
been a while.
After that, it was game over. It was 12 hours every day, 6 to 12. I'd have friends knocking on the door and they'd be like, "Hey man, you want to hang out?" And I'd be like, "No, I don't."
Yeah.
I'd be like, "No, I really don't."
Well, if it makes you feel any better, or makes me feel any older, I saw Just Like Paradise. I saw Roth in concert when that was a brand new song, and I saw One by Metallica in concert when that was a brand new song. But
one of the cover bands I was in actually did I don't even know if it is like a.
yeah.
It's like I mean.
Yeah, Vi always breaks those harmonics in. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun, but I mean, I quickly grew out of that kind of that glam stuff. I can still listen to it, every now and then, just kind of for nostalgic reasons. But I mean, pretty much the moment, I guess the moment of reality for me is really just whenever I was 13 listening to Metallica, because I knew I liked metal.
Yeah.
I've always liked heavier guitar sounds. I had a bunch of friends who liked Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin, and I was like, man, this isn't heavy enough. And eventually I kind of calmed down and I began to learn to love that kind of stuff too. But my heart really resides with heavy metal, hard rock.
Yeah.
I mean, Van Halen, Pantera. I mean, any band that's just makes me feel like that. Any band that's like, I guess, riff oriented, riff
Sure.
based, riff based rock is really what I like.
No, I'm totally with you. I like to explore and branch out and listen to other stuff, and I love like Alan Holdsworth, that stuff. But
Oh yeah.
there's always a point, like even if I get into like I want to listen to some jazz or pop or whatever, my home base is always hard rock and metal.
Yep.
That's always where I go back to. Yeah, definitely. Playing a band right now. I've seen videos of you on YouTube.
Yeah. I another long story short. Hopefully, I can talk my head off, man.
It's all good.
So while I was in high school, I always looked for people to jam with, and I could never find anybody. Everybody wants to rap now. It's been like that my entire life.
Yeah.
So, I would literally get made fun of for wearing Megadeth shirts and Metallica shirts, versus anybody else wearing, some rapper like Drake's shirt or something like that. But I do remember always trying to scout my high school for talent. And dude, I went to a huge high school. I graduated with over 1,000 kids in my class. And I couldn't find anybody. Everybody wanted to rap, and the people I did work with, they were good, but they either ended up moving away, getting married, doing the whole family thing. And I remember having to talk to my parents about it, and they're like, man, Josh, whenever you get out of high school is probably when you're gonna find a band. And I wasn't thinking in my head cover band. I was thinking, hopefully I find an original band, and I was really excited. And I remember going to Guitar Center all the time, once I graduated, and I would just go in there and I'd play all the time. And there was this guitar tech who was working there. He loved Kiss. He had a bunch of Kiss memorabilia in his house. He's got like a fucking pinball machine from Kiss in there and all that. And he was like, so have you ever been in a band, man? And I was like, nah, I've never played in a band, or I've never played live or anything like that. Besides, 3 minutes at my high school talent show. And he's like, all right, man. He's like, go ahead and come to this guy's house and learn like 6 or 7 songs, and we'll jam them out. And I ended up going over there jamming the songs, and that was pretty much it. And that's the band I'm still in.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the second band, it was kind of an all of a sudden thing, and it was the same year that maybe the next year that I had joined the first one. So I mean, I was doing 2 at once, and I mean, I just remember the same drummer was in both bands, and he called me, and he was like, "Hey man, can you learn 36 songs that you've probably never heard in your entire life in 4 days?" And I was like, "Oh my god,
no problem."
Like, I'll try. And I mean, as far as bar gigs go, so that was my first bar gig. Actually, was with the second band, because the first band couldn't get a gig yet.
Right.
But so that band already had gigs lined up, and I ended up filling in 2 shows, Friday and Saturday back to back, and it was 3 hours apiece. And I fucking loved it. So I was like, okay, you know, I wanna do this as much as I possibly can. And I mean, I think for a straight 2 to 3 years, I was just playing the bar circuit in my hometown for I'd say I was playing an average of anywhere from 4 to 8 shows a month, and every show is 3 hours long. And I mean, you know how it goes. You set up, you tear down. You know, it's not really 3 hours. It's about 8 hours once you're done.
Right.
Like basically, right when I graduated, all my friends were like, "Hey, man, you should start YouTube and you should start this and that, and you should get on social media and this and that." And I was like, you know what? And I was like, I don't think there's anybody my age that's actually out there playing live right now. They're all on YouTube. They're all on Instagram, and they don't go out. And I'm not, forgive me, that's like an ignorant statement or anything like that. Like this is my mindset whenever I was 17. So
right.
I was like, okay, I don't want to be a YouTube guitar player. I don't want to be, on Instagram every day. I want to play live. And that was my goal, and I wanted to do what my heroes did, Dime, Eddie, any of those guys, Jimmy Page, all those guys, they didn't have YouTube. They didn't get a camera and record themselves playing music. They went and played live music, whether it was a jam band, whether it was a Thai band, that's what they did. And
right.
So that was.
What kind of equipment are you using right now? Like I see your Charvel, and it looks like you've got a Schecter. Is the other stuff I've seen you playing, the White Schecter? Is that right?
Yeah, that's at our bass player's house right now. It had the a volume knob kind of got fucked up, but I have this was the first one I bought with my own money, and it's a Schecter. And then that Gibson, I think, might have been third. The second one was the White Schecter.
Yeah. And
then I think I went like 3 years without buying anything, and then this is maybe a month and a half or 2 months. I didn't know anything about, man, when I was 4 years into playing, I remember when I met that guy, I was about 4.5 years into playing when I met the guitar tech who introduced me to the band guys, to the cover band guys who was working at Guitar Center, and he was like, what's wrong with your bridge pickup? And I was like, what's a bridge pickup? And
awesome.
he lost it. And I was like, dude, I don't know anything about gear, I just play. And, he was like, okay, you got to start learning about gear, man. And, beyond that was pretty funny. But,
that's great.
It went from the Line 6 as far as amps go. I mean, those are all I've already talked about the guitars. So as far as amps go is Roland, then Line 6, and then the PB Valve King for a few months. And then I kind of regret it, but I kind of don't. But I sold the PB Valve King head for a little Fender Mustang head. And then after that was that little green amp I just showed you. And yeah. I've had the green amp for like 4 years. It's like a Yamaha THR. And that's what the majority of my videos were with. And then I think about a month ago, maybe not even, I'd say 2 weeks ago, I got this little Axe Effects.
Okay.
So I kind of leveled up about as far as you can go with modeling systems. So I haven't had much time to really tweak with it. I'm not much of a tweaker. I kind of just want to play.
Yeah. There's a ton of stuff in those things too. You can go get lost. Now I'm assuming the Mesa Boogie behind you is for live.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Single reg. It came in that color actually. That was a whole story of its own. I remember seeing all these people's opinions on. I read comments on YouTube and all that, and I would be looking up all these amp brands, and I really wanted a Marshall because I saw everybody had one, and I was like, man, that's so cool. Marshalls are so cool. I bet they sound so great. And our bass player is a huge Mesa Boogie head. He loves Mesa, and I used to see all these guys talking shit on Mesa Boogie on all these YouTube forums and on all these Seymour Duncan forums. They're like, man, Mesa's not that great and this and that. So I obviously was kind of biased from the opinions of other people that I was reading, and we ended up. This was right before our first gig, so he was like, man, you got to have a tube amp if you're gonna play live, and I was like, oh, I know I do. So, I think it was maybe a month and a half, 2 months before, I was trying out a bunch of Marshalls, and I just could not get them to sound the way I wanted to.
Right. Not enough gain, like, probably.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he was like, I tried all these pedals, and none of the pedals worked, and I was like, man. I wanted a Marshall behind me. And he's like, man, if you can't get a good sound out of that you want in 2 weeks, we're gonna go Mesa. And 2 weeks goes by, and I was very disappointed because we were going Mesa, and he let me borrow that one, and I just remember plugging it in, and I had the biggest smile on my face from the first chord, and I was like, man, that's it. That's the sound I've been looking for.
That's cool. Now, let me ask you about the. I've heard a lot of your cover stuff, and I know a lot of people got to be wondering about your original material. Is that something you're planning on? I mean, is there a place to check it out now, or are you planning on releasing it at some point? I mean, what's the story on that?
As far as right now, I don't let too many people listen to it right now.
Sure.
They are complete songs on guitar and bass.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, I'm not a drummer. Maybe that's not obvious, but I'm not a drummer. And I sing, but it's mainly backups.
Yeah.
In the band. So whenever it comes down to writing complete songs, I don't have 100%. Ready to be heard, so to speak, on the radio complete. I have 100% complete guitars and bass, and I'd say right now, I started recording not even a year ago. I've got about 10 right now. You got it right, man. You got it. You can have everything. You can have the talent. You could be the best guitar player in the world. And somebody over here, this random guy over here may only know how to play a few chords, but he can write a song that's super catchy that I want to listen to.
Right.
So to me, the songs come first.
Sure.
More than anything.
No, that's good to hear. Yeah, that's definitely, because it's definitely true. That's cool that you realize that, and that's what you're working towards. Now, talk about the just for players, and I'm a guitar nerd too, but all these guys that you've cited and stuff, and you like. But who are some of the players? It doesn't matter if they're newer guys or older guys. Who's a player, regardless of technique or anything, whose tone you really like? It could be just the tone on one song, but.
There's like 5 guys as far as tone goes that I really like with tone. I would say obviously Eddie Van Halen. I think Dimebag has really good tone, especially live tone. Randy Rhoads' live tone is really great. Doug Aldrich tone is really great. Did I say Yngwie already?
No, but yeah.
Yngwie's got great tone. Obviously, John Sykes. I think he was using like Mesa Coliseums, like Mark II's.
He was using Mesas when I saw him back in the 90s.
Yeah, I think Slash had pretty damn good tone on Appetite.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
George Lynch on Tooth and Nail had some good tone. Mm-hmm. And I mean, if you're talking, and there's a lot of these dudes are 80s, because that's really what I like. But I mean, as far as 70s go, I think Angus Young has some badass, just really dry but in your face tone.
Yeah.
I would say, man, who else has great tone to me? To my ears, I like. I really dig Jerry Cantrell.
Mm-hmm. I do too.
And then if you're talking 2000s, I don't know if there's too many guys from the 2000s that I could say that I really just dig their tone. I'd say some of the best tone I've ever heard in my life, just in the world, would be probably Rick Graham.
Rick Graham.
I've never heard anybody with tone like that. It's like a hybrid of Yngwie and Eddie and Dime.
Wow.
He's got crazy tone. He's using like a Splon. It's like a Splon Nitro or something like that.
Huh.
But he's got phenomenal tone, man.
Yeah, that's cool. And people sometimes don't give Yngwie credit for his vibrato.
Oh my God.
It's beautiful.
Oh my God. Yngwie liked to do the he liked to use the little whammy, like he would do he would do stuff like that, but I mean, whenever he would do that, I really get a kick out of his high E string vibrato, and like whenever he just like slides up, like it's killer, man. I think it's kind of weird because vibrato to me is honestly one of the most important aspects of guitar playing.
Yeah.
And that's like the first thing that I listen to.
It's definitely the most individualistic of each player.
It is.
Yeah.
Vibrato, tone, phrasing. You know, kind of how you how interested you can keep me in your playing.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Becker most definitely had really good.
God, that guy, and he was so tasty too. God, he could just play he could play the simple stuff sounded fantastic, and his shred stuff sounded fantastic.
Jason?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I love Jason. Jason has, man, yeah. Jason's the one who got me back into playing fast. I used to play really, when I was getting into John Mayer and a lot of Boston and stuff like that when I was like a junior and senior, and I found Jason Becker whenever I must have been a year or two out of high school. And that's kind of whenever I was finding all of this new rock that I'd never heard Alice in Chains before. Surprising enough. I didn't really listen to Van Halen until after high school. Maybe my senior year I started listening to him.
I want to ask, you're always learning and stuff. These guys who pointed you out on social media, Coverdale, Mike Portnoy, Sherenian, Jeff Scott Soto. If you were to meet these guys, what's a question you would like to ask one of them?
When are we gonna jam? Because I'd want to jam some fucking Van Halen with them. That'd be the first thing, dude.
Right.
That'd be the first thing. I'd be like, all right, dude, I'm trying to jam right now.
We need to get you in a room with Derek Sherenian. That guy is
Derek, and Derek's fucking awesome. Derek's
gosh.
Honestly, one of the coolest people I've ever talked to.
Oh yeah,
that'd be pretty cool. They'd probably get annoyed because I'd probably ask him a shit ton of questions.
Right. So. You want to just play the rhythm? I'll grab mine and play the leads. I'm just kidding. I can't. No.
I do think that it's kind of heading back towards the way of, every rock song's kind of starting to have solos now. I would say the only person I've never really heard mess up is Dimebag.
Yeah.
And it just gets fucking weird because he's always drinking.
You know what's cool? You talk about a cool way to you got to be a pro to do this, because I don't think any of the non-musicians would have even picked up on this. I saw Rush a few years ago. And so Alex Lyson's playing part of a song, and of course Geddy's got his keys over there. So Alex is playing the rhythm track. It's just during the first or second or third verse, whatever. It's not a chorus part of the song. I can't remember what song it was, but he breaks a couple strings, right? And the only way I noticed it, because he breaks a couple strings, he just walks over and starts playing the chords on Geddy's keyboard. And just voicing the chords on the keyboard until one of his roadies walks out with a new guitar. And he just slips the new guitar back on and just picks back up playing. Never missed a beat.
Like obviously, I think bands like Greta Van Fleet are a double-edged sword because, I'm not the biggest fan, but I know a lot of people are, and I think it's a good thing because it's introducing people back to rock, and the biggest thing is labels want to go after what's hot. So sure. I didn't really think those guys were the guys. I still don't really think they're the guys. I think the world kind of needs another Guns N' Roses right now.
Right.
Another Van Halen like band, and once that happens, then whether I'm a part of that or not, once that happens, that's whenever labels say, okay, we need bands now. Rappers, no, we need bands. Bands are money makers right now, so we need guitar players. We need bass players. We need drum. It only takes one band, man.
Right, and you're right. Greta Van Fleet, no matter how you feel about them, yay or nay, you're right. At least they're young guys playing their instruments and playing straight ahead rock. And you're right. The record labels now, it's a different field now, but that's they jump on trends. I mean, they're there to make money. Yeah. So if you hadn't had and all these bands were around at the same time. I'm not saying anybody was copying anybody, but if you hadn't had Van Halen get signed and sell a couple million records on the first album, that's when all of a sudden you get Rat, Dokken, all those guys signed, and then years later you get Poison, all those guys. Somebody has to start the trend, and then
sparked everything for the '80s, I believe.
Oh yeah. But you know what? Yeah, and 2020 is coming, man. It'll be a new decade, and yeah,
dude, rap and hip hop, they've been on top for about 20 years now.
Right, it's probably time.
Every song's starting to sound the same. They're starting to do what they did in '89, '88, '89. Like with the Electric Boys. So those guys are a product of the labels saying, "Oh, glam. Okay, here's fucking 10 glam bands."
Right.
Right now, I'm seeing that with rap, and
yeah, that's killer.
I mean, I've learned, in the past 4 years that not everything is obviously guaranteed, but if you work your ass off for something, we live in a great country, and if you want something bad enough, go out there and fucking get it.
Playing, so now we know everybody knows where to find you, and I'm going to be keeping up with you. I'm looking forward to hearing some original music at some point when you get it all set. So keep in touch with me, and we'll make sure that we get the word out of any news you got coming.
Oh yeah, man. I'll definitely keep you updated. All I can say is really thanks for having me, dude.
Absolutely.
You're technically my first, what would you call this? Somewhat of an interview?
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, you're my first non-day job interview.
Awesome, that's cool. And at some point, if we bump in a convention or something, you and me and Greg Renoff will have to go off on a nerd conversation about.
Oh yeah, it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks again, Josh.
All right, man.
All right, buddy. Bye.